Hi, welcome back to the Scent Advocate. Tonight we're talking about the hunt for the good stuff. As you may have noticed in my last few videos, I've been looking for some pretty amazing fragrances that I've tried out, and these are not easily found or acquired. So what am I doing to avoid paying absurd amounts for collector versions of these fragrances? Well, stay tuned and I'll give you all the details on what I'm doing, and I'll show you some of my more recent acquisitions. Let's jump right in, but first, tonight's beverages. Coffee, of course, with a water chaser. Stick around till the end because today I made two amazing scores, and I'm going to save those until the end and tell you how I got them and how you might be able to do something similar. All right. The first fragrance I'll talk about is Knowing by Estee Lauder. This is a fragrance from my youth that I remember very, very fondly. Like many fragrances from my youth, this is pretty strong, pretty adult, and some may have thought not necessarily age appropriate. I'm 53. So when this fragrance came out in like 1988, I was still pretty young. This was definitely a mature fragrance, but I loved it. My grandmother wore it. My mother loved it. And she got a bottle and then she lost it. And we never got around to getting another. All these years later, I've been so curious about it. The fragrance itself, I purchased from, I think it was eBay. It may have been Mercari or Etsy, but it was one of those three for sure. And I'll leave it in the description. This is a, let's see, it's an EDP. It is 30 ml. I paid $71 for it. This is from the late 80s, early 90s. Having checked the batch code, which is somewhere on the bottle. Or on the box, I can't remember. But let's just, so 30 ml EDP. The nose behind this, by the way, is Harry Fremont, and this is a floral chypre. The notes in this are aldehydes, mimosa, rose, coriander, green notes. It's a long list: patchouli, cardamom, orris, oak moss, civet, vetiver, musks, spices, amber. The fragrance itself is very much an 80s chypre. It's got an incredible amount of power, and it just makes you feel like Diane Keaton in Baby Boom in the beginning when she was working for the management consulting firm, and she had the great suit with the belt and the cinched in waist and the big shoulder pads. Or maybe Melanie Griffith at the end of Working Girl. One of those. Very, very cool. One of those, you know, female heroes of the corporate world. This was what she was wearing. Fantastic stuff. I love it. Definitely a trip back in time. But I've seen the prices all over the place for this. I did go in and test a modern version in a perfume store that I think you can find these types of perfume stores in most shopping malls. So I went into one of those stores that sells exclusively fragrances, and I did get a modern formulation that I tried, and I will tell you it's very similar. I was really impressed with the modern formulation. This is definitely richer to me. And again, as I always say, I don't know that there was a reformulation. I can never say with certainty. This is just my experience. This smells a bit different than the brand new non-vintage bottle that I just tried in a store. So if you are not willing to hunt for something like this and spend $71 for 30 mil, which I happen to think is a great price, but maybe there's not another one out there like this, then definitely consider trying the more recent release if there's a difference. But assuming there is a difference, go try the more recent release. This I got very much for because I wanted the exact same formulation that I remembered, and this gives me that. The other is very close though. So if you're looking for knowing and you can't find a vintage version from the 80s or early 90s, consider the current version. A couple of tricks that I noticed: the older versions, okay, don't have barcodes on the box. They also don't have this E thing. I don't know what the E thing is. I probably should, but I don't. And it appears on some fragrance boxes, perhaps on the bottles too. If I figure out what it is, I'll put it in the notes. If I remember, I'll try to remember and let you know. But these are hallmarks, you know, these missing things are hallmarks of a, what I would call a vintage bottle, something from, you know, in this case, the late 80s, early 90s. And that coupled with, you know, the representations of the seller, if it's a good seller, and you can tell it's a good seller because the seller sold a lot of items and has great reviews, those are, in my opinion, good signs, and that's what made me feel comfortable. Of course, I did only spend $71. It wasn't going to bankrupt me if it didn't work out, but this did work out. Gorgeous stuff. Knowing by Estee Lauder. All right, moving on. A slightly different take on things. A few weeks back, I told you about a fragrance I came upon in a perfume store that I absolutely loved. It's called L'Oregan by Coty. And I just saw it. I thought it looked vintagey. And so I tried it, and immediately I fell in love. Oh, it's so beautiful and powdery. So this is a 53 ml cologne. I paid $50 for it. The release year is 1905. Now, this is not a 1905 bottle. This is obviously a newer purchase. Oh, something else you can tell, I think, sometimes, or something else you can look at that will help you tell the difference between a recent release as opposed to a vintage release. You could see there a very long list of ingredients on the bottle. Okay. On these older bottles, now they're not always going to have the list of ingredients on the bottle itself, but a lot of times they'll have it on the box. These older bottles have very little in the way of description. This is just the knowing bottle again, okay? It's just got like alcohol and perfume, basically. I mean, it's got the Estee Lauder like address and everything down there, but this exclusive formula contains alcohol, perfume, purified water. That's it. This has like 50 items on there. I can't pronounce any of them, so I'm not even going to try. But what I will tell you is the notes. By the way, the nose behind this is Francois Coty. Coriander, pepper, orange, peach, bergamot, spices, nutmeg, violet, orange, flower, ylang ylang, rose, jasmine, etc., incense, civet, cedar musk, all of that. It's got a strong powdery note to it. Not dissimilar to Après l'Amour by Coty's Infiniment line. It's not the same, but that powdery accord is very much here. I believe L'Oregan means oregano in French. This does not smell like oregano to me. Not at all. It's very pretty, very florally, with something of a tartness very faintly in the background, giving it a backbone. If I didn't know better, I would say it was intended to be a wood note. And there is cedar, and I get that. But there's also, I want to say, something of a pepper in there. If I didn't know better, I'd say pimento. But hey, it's all relative, right? The likelihood that pimento or actual cedar is in here is probably low, right? I mean, I think when we look at the notes, we have to remember, much like wine, a lot of it is subjective. I think in many instances, actual derivatives of the note itself might be in there, but certainly not in all instances. These are notes that the perfumer wants you to detect. So why am I talking about this since I recently purchased it? Well, because I love it so much, and it is a very light formulation. It's a cologne. By the way, it performs beautifully regardless of it being a cologne. I wanted a backup bottle. I've never done a backup bottle before, not to the best of my knowledge. I can't think of one right now. Couldn't find one. And the prices for these online were ridiculous. So compared to what I spent in the store. So I went to a decant shop called Surrender to Chance. I believe you can get full bottles there too. They are wonderful. Check them out online. And I got a vintage Coty L'Oregon. And it is amazing. It is just as incredible, except maybe a little bit richer. Yeah, slightly less powdery, but still incredible stuff. Now, what will I do? I might supplement this with this. I've heard that's a good idea. I'm not sure I want to do that, though. What I'll probably do is just trade off to make the experience last longer. So that's how I'm going to stretch this and not break the bank constantly buying decants like this. Gorgeous stuff. Coty L'Oregon. All right, moving on. We've got, oh yes. Okay. So I fell in love when I tested a vintage Guerlain called, I shouldn't say it's vintage necessarily, a discontinued Guerlain called Les Voyages Olfactifs Tokyo. And I had a little 1 ml, probably less than a ml decant of this. And it just blew me away. In fact, here it is, right here. And it is 1 ml. Beautiful stuff. I got it from, where did I get it? The Perfumed Court, another decant shop where you can also, I believe, get full bottles. Excellent experience with them. I fell in love, and I looked and looked for a full bottle of Tokyo and was not going to pay the prices I saw. It made more sense for me to get more decants because for an 8 ml from Surrender to Chance, I'm sorry, is it Surrender to Chance? No, the Perfumed Court. Sorry, yes, this is the Perfumed Court. For an 8 ml, it cost me $28. So I got 3. Now, am I getting the beautiful bottle? No. These are perfectly fine, but would I call them beautiful? No, they're just decant bottles. Here's the thing. I care more about the juice than I care about the bottle. Would it be great if this all came in a beautiful bottle? Yes. Would it be great if I could have gotten, the full bottle as opposed to doing this? Sure. But I wasn't going to pay the price. And how did I know I wasn't going to pay the price? Because I could do this instead and this would get me there. So if you're going through the same thing and there's something you've fallen in love with, you really, really want it, and you're just, you set a reasonable budget for yourself and you don't want to go beyond it, this has been working for me. And a lot of these sites will allow you to buy as many as you want. Some of them will limit you to one or two. But in this case, I actually ordered 5, and she or he ended up refunding me for 2 of the bottles because they ran out. But I believe if they hadn't run out, they would have given me all 5. So I'm very pleased with this, and I'll keep scoping for the full bottle because I believe it's been discontinued. I will patiently wait until the price is where I'm comfortable. This is a beautiful fragrance, by the way. So it's a 2009 release, so not vintage, but older, and as far as I know, discontinued, or very, very difficult for me to find, at least. It's an EDT, and I've got an 8 mil or 3/8 mils, as I said, and I paid $28 for each of them. The notes are green tea, jasmine, violet, hinoki wood, and vanilla. So hinoki, in case you're not familiar, is like a Japanese kind of zippy, lemony cypress tree. Beautiful. I think that makes the tea note completely different. It gives it something of a smoky quality, and almost a fruity accord. It's so strange. This fragrance, it's definitely unusual to me. I've never smelled a tea fragrance quite like it. And I will say that the expectation with this being Guerlain, yeah, it's not got that typical Guerlain DNA, in my opinion. It's very unusual for a Guerlain. Very sophisticated, very wet, mossy, zippy, fruity, smoky, pretty. It's just highly unusual. If you like tea but you want something different, give this a shot, and check out the perfumed quart. And let me know in the comments if you've ever tried it. Gorgeous stuff. Okay, next we've got another one that I was very interested in. I was attracted to the notes in this one, and I took a chance with a blind buy, and I am very glad I did. But you'll notice my blind buys are really carefully done, or anytime I'm taking risk, I'm pretty careful because I don't like to risk a whole lot of money. So I'd never tried Ultima by Revlon before, but the notes just blew me away. I was actually looking for something that would scratch the itch for a different, almost impossible to find, rich chypre fragrance from a long time ago, and I'll talk about that some more in a minute. I'm saving that for among the last. And I saw it compared to Ultima, and the notes sounded amazing, and the price was incredible. So I paid $38 for a 60 ml EDT, and this fragrance is from the mid 60s. I love that. I mean, I know it shouldn't matter, but this is the bottle. Okay, I took it out of the packaging, and this is the packaging, like I said. But if you open it up, so this packaging is like textures, like crocodile texture. Okay, you open it up, and it's got this funny kind of, remember this sort of thing? Those of you who are, Gen X, everything used to be packed in this like puffy paper stuff. But if you look inside, it actually comes with a pamphlet. And there could be no doubt the vintage of this fragrance. It's definitely you know, 60s, I guess possibly into the 70s, but this is just so nostalgic. And, you know, it just added more of a sense of occasion to the fragrance. Anyway, I was, it was a great gamble ultimately because I absolutely fell in love. Now, this opens up, in case you're interested, this opens up a lot like Youth Do from Estee Lauder. Very rich, but very quickly it dries down into a really, there you go, a really aldehydic experience. Resinous, dark fruits, but lifted, bright, fizzy, everything that aldehydes do, this does. All right, so the notes in this are aldehydes: bergamot, apple, fruits, carnation, cinnamon, pimento, rose, jasmine, orchid, opoponax, sandalwood, civet, amber, patchouli, benzoin, and vanilla. A word about some of these ingredients, or I should say notes. I don't know whether actual ingredients, whether these notes represent actual ingredients. These older formulations, provided they have been reformulated, again, I don't know for sure, but very often the ingredients used ages ago in fragrances have, there have been substitutes over the years. And some believe that that is why fragrances have been reformulated as time goes by, just because of, you know, animal cruelty or, you know, bans on certain, otherwise bans on certain ingredients, or certain ingredients becoming, you know, not cost effective to use in fragrance manufacture. Other times there are health concerns for some people. I believe oak moss is a great example of that. And so in any event, the ingredients are sometimes substituted for synthetics where at one time they might have been the actual, let's say, oak moss itself, as opposed to, you know, a synthetic, I don't know, analog. And in this case, I do not know. I have absolutely no idea whether the ingredients in this are synthetic or not. What I do know is it smells incredible. And even though it starts out, like I said, with that very rich Youth Do beginning, it quickly becomes its own thing. And I was a little disappointed at first because of that. I wasn't sure, oh gosh, you know, I have Youth Do. Did I just buy another? And again, it was only $38, so it wasn't that big a deal, but I am so pleased that it is different than at first it presented. Ultima by Revlon. The big dark fragrance that I was looking to find a substitute for when I found this was Nombre Noire by Shiseido. I sampled this and fell in love. I fall in love a lot, don't I, with fragrance. And I was on a hunt, just stopping at nothing, looking for this stuff. And I'm still looking. But I was unsuccessful in that the bottles I found are priced very, very high, higher than I am willing to pay for the fragrance. So what I did was I went to a decanter and got two 15 ml decants of Nombre Noire. This is a vintage fragrance from Shiseido. This is a 1982 or 1983 vintage, right? So this actual juice is from a bottle That is either a 1982 or 1983 release. 15 mil cost me, well, that can't be right. I want to say it cost a couple $100 for both of these. This is an EDP, and the nose behind this is Jean-Yves Leroy, I think. Please keep me honest if I've gotten this wrong. This is, I think, among fragrance collectors and fans of vintage, one of the most coveted of fragrances out there. The notes are rose ketones or damascones, plum, currant, tobacco, raspberry, wine, tea, spices, aldehydes, rosewood, coriander, marjoram, bergamot, osmanthus, carnation, geranium, orris, lily of the valley, jasmine, ylang-ylang, honey, amber, and so on. I mean, there's benzoin, musk, tonka. I have some on my hand. This is so good. It may be worth every absurd dime that some people are asking for it. It is smoky, rich, dark, hypnotic, exquisite. It is a mood. It is so beautiful, and I have smelled nothing like it. But in trying to scratch the itch, I did find this, and I love this, but it's not the same. This is great, but it's not this. So, in order to avoid spending over $1,000, I got the 2 decants, and I am perfectly happy. Now, again, is it a beautiful bottle, in my opinion? No. But it's not horrible. And it's not about the bottle when the juice is like this. So that is the choice I made in the hunt for that fragrance. What do you know about Nombre Noire? You must divulge. Tell me in the comments, please. All right, moving on. The last 2 fragrances for this evening are today's big scores. The first I've talked about before. It is Zen by Shiseido. Oh boy, is this stuff lovely. This is a 30 mil, and this is probably from the late 80s. The original version of this fragrance, I think, came out like, I don't know, my mother got her first bottle years ago. I want to say it was like 1968, 1969 in there. So it was around at least in the 60s. This is probably one from 1970, late 70s for this bottle. Again, this is a 30 mil. This is an eau de cologne. It smells incredible. Very much a dark, beautiful, rich, oak mossy, resinous, gorgeous experience. You could see on the back of this too, what I was saying earlier, that the older bottles don't have the long list of fragrance note or ingredients. It just says, what does it say? It says 92% volume. Everything else is just about, addresses and such. So anyway, I think that helps to validate the bottle being much, much older than, modern releases. Obviously, with Zen, the modern release looks nothing like this bottle. It smells nothing like this juice. It's completely different. The nose behind this was Josephine Catapano, I believe. And if you haven't tried it, you absolutely must. It's amazing. The amount that I spent on this, and this is not completely full, there's a little bit missing, perhaps from evaporation, which has made it even more rich. I paid 92 cents. That's including tax. At an antique store today for this bottle. I believe online it would go for a couple hundred at least. Zen. Original by Shiseido. Moral of the story, look at antique stores. Go look at antique stores. The finds are amazing. The last fragrance for this evening is Bal of Versailles. I bought this about 2 years ago, maybe a little less. Retail. It's beautiful. This is a 50 ml. It's an EDT, 1962 original release date. Jean Dupré is the house. I paid $50 for it. The notes in this are ylang ylang, lemon, patchouli, sandalwood, rosemary, which I think matters in here. It's very interesting. Neroli, orris, benzoin, civet, musk, and amber. But this isn't the one I'm talking about. This is great. I love it. This is the one I'm talking about. $50. Much, much older bottle. And this fragrance is a Perfume. It's lovely. It's brand new. And I also found it at an antique shop today. This is so much richer. By the way, this is a metal cap on here. The juice is much darker, but it's, let me hold them up. It's definitely the same fragrance. And I must say, this modern release, again, I don't know for a fact that it's a different formula, but it's definitely a lighter concentration. This is excellent, and it comes real close. So if you're looking to scratch the itch, this will do the trick, in my opinion. But this, just sitting there among vintage bottles of, you know, like Lalique type perfume bottles, cut glass perfume bottles, this was sitting there. And there were a couple of other fragrances, but I wasn't interested in those. This, though, I absolutely had to have. Paid the same amount for this perfume as this. Obviously, there's a size difference, but this is concentrated. This is not. This is vintage. This is not. Trying to date this using AI. I think I got the late 60s, early 70s. If you can tell, definitely let me know in the comments, but what a score. Between these two, I had a very successful day. And by the way, this is just, you know, a little additional. It's so cute, this presentation. Very sweet. And it looks like more of a jewelry box. Beautiful stuff. Bal of Versailles by Jean Dupré. And that's what I've been doing to deal with the hunt for these amazing fragrances. Sometimes I score, and sometimes I don't, but I find another way to score. And that's decants often enough. There are a few that I am really interested in, just to be completely transparent with you, that I haven't scored with. And one is See if I can find it here. Yeah. It's Noire by Voyages. And this is the original formulation. I want to say it's the 2014. Is it 2014? Is that right? Yeah, I think it's the 2014 version as opposed to the more recent version. I didn't know what to expect from this. So I got a decant because I was curious about it, and I got this from the Perfumed Court. This is a cumin balm for me. And that's not always something I want, but this just did something that I was instantly heavily attracted to it. I wanted much, much more. And so I started looking for a full bottle, and I have not been successful. So for me, scratching that itch will have to involve the next best things in my collection. That includes other cumin forward fragrances like Femme Rochas, Salome by Papillon, things like that. The Mitsuko, I should say, by Guerlain, not as much that one, but because I just can't find it. And I am going to have to wait. And, sometimes that's the only answer. Patience is a virtue. So let me know what you think of these selections. Let me know what you think about how I improvise. Have you got any better ideas? I'm all ears. And hey, if you aren't yet a subscriber to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy hunting for those fragrances, friends.